Imagine this. You help a stranger on a rainy night. You get your clothes dirty. You expect nothing back. Then 12 years later, you walk into a room full of millionaires who laugh in your face. They mock you. They call you nobody. But then, one of them reads a piece of paper. And suddenly, the laughter dies. His face goes white. Because that stranger you helped, he just made you a billionaire. And now, these men who laughed at you, they work for you. Sound impossible? It happened. And I'm about to tell you exactly how. But I'm warning you now, by the end of the story, you'll never look at kindness the same way again. So stay with me, because what happens next will give you chills. Welcome to Reality Untold Stories. While you are here, please hit the subscribe button and comment your view on the story and where you're watching from. Section 1. The beginning. Picture this. A fancy glass office high above the streets of London. Rain tapping against the windows. 5 men in expensive suits sitting around a polished table, looking very pleased with themselves. They're laughing. Not the good kind of laughter, but the cruel kind. The kind that makes your stomach turn. Standing in front of them is a young woman. She's wearing simple clothes, jeans, and a plain sweater. Her hair is tied back in a messy bun. She looks nervous, but she's trying her best to stand tall. She can't be more than 25 years old. In her hands, she's holding some papers. "Gentlemen," she says, her voice shaking just a little. "I'm the new owner of this company." The room explodes with laughter. One man slaps the table. Another wipes tears from his eyes. The man at the head of the table, his name is Thomas Barrett. He laughs the hardest. He's been working his way up this company for 20 years. He's made millions. He's fired hundreds of people without blinking an eye. And now this girl, this nobody, is standing here claiming to own everything he's worked for? "Listen, love," Thomas says, still chuckling. "I don't know who sent you here, but this is Anderson Shipping Company. We move cargo across the world. We have 30,000 employees. This isn't some little shop you can just walk into." The young woman, her name is Sarah. She doesn't back down. She slides the papers across the table. "Read them," she says quietly. Thomas picks up the documents, ready to toss them in the bin. But then his eyes land on something. A signature at the bottom of the page. His smile disappears. The color drains from his face. The other men lean forward, confused. What could possibly make Thomas Barrett go silent? To understand what's happening in this room, we need to go back. Back to a cold winter evening 12 years ago, in a small town outside Manchester. Back to when everything changed because of one simple act of kindness. You see, life has a funny way of keeping score. We don't always see it. Sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it takes decades. But eventually, the universe has a way of balancing things out. This is one of those stories. A story about an old man, a young girl, and a moment in time that would change everything. So let me take you back. Back to where it all began. Back to a day that seemed ordinary, but was anything but. Back to the moment when a billionaire's heart was touched by a teenage girl who had nothing but kindness to give. It was a December evening, just after 5 o'clock. The sun had already set, and the streets were dark and wet. In the wealthy part of Manchester, an old man sat in his vintage Rolls-Royce, pulled over on the side of the road. His name was William Anderson. He was 73 years old, and one of the richest men in England. William had built Anderson Shipping from the ground up. Started with one small boat 50 years ago. Now his company had ships in every ocean, moving goods across the planet. He'd made his fortune through hard work, yes, but also through ruthless decisions. He'd crushed competitors. He'd paid workers as little as possible. He'd chosen profit over people every single time. Now here he was, stranded on a back road with a flat tire. His phone battery was dead. Cars passed by, their headlights cutting through the rain, but nobody stopped. Why would they? Just an old man and his expensive car. Probably has people to call, they must have thought. William tried to change the tire himself, but his hands were stiff with arthritis. The wrench slipped. The rain soaked through his expensive coat. He cursed under his breath. For the first time in decades, William Anderson felt helpless. That's when he heard a voice. "Excuse me, sir. Do you need help?" He looked up. Standing there in the rain was a girl, maybe 16 years old. She was wearing a school uniform under a thin jacket. Her backpack was getting soaked. She was holding a small umbrella over her head, and now she moved it to cover him instead. "I can help you with that tire," she said, smiling. "My dad taught me how. He works at the docks, fixing equipment all day. I've changed plenty of tires." William was about to say no. He didn't need help from a child. But something in her eyes stopped him. There was no pity there. No judgment. Just pure, simple kindness. "All right," he said quietly. The girl, her name was Sarah Mitchell. She got to work. She knelt in the cold, wet road and loosened the bolts. She talked while she worked, telling him about her day at school, about how she was studying for her exams, about how she wanted to become a teacher someday. "My family doesn't have much money," she said cheerfully, "but my mom always says the one thing we can always afford to give is kindness. Doesn't cost a penny, does it?" William watched her work. This girl, this stranger, was ruining her school clothes to help him. She didn't know who he was. She didn't want anything from him. She was just being kind because that's who she was. When the tire was fixed, William reached for his wallet. "Let me pay you," he said. Sarah shook her head. "No need, sir. Just help someone else when they need it. That's payment enough." She handed him a small piece of paper. On it, she'd drawn a little sun with rays coming out of it. "Something to brighten your day," she said with a grin. Then she waved goodbye and walked off into the rain. William sat in his car for a long time after that, holding that piece of paper. Something had shifted inside him. Something he couldn't quite name yet. Life went on, as it always does. Sarah finished school. She wanted to go to university, but her family couldn't afford it. So she worked. She took a job at a supermarket during the day and cleaned offices at night. She saved every penny she could. Eventually, she scraped together enough to attend a local college part-time. It took her 6 years to get her degree. Meanwhile, William Anderson couldn't forget that rainy evening. He kept that little drawing of the sun in his desk drawer. Sometimes, late at night in his office, he'd take it out and look at it. He started to see his company differently. He saw the workers he'd laid off to increase profits. He saw the families he'd hurt. He saw all the people he'd stepped on to get to the top. At the same time, Thomas Barrett was climbing the ranks at Anderson Shipping. Thomas was everything William used to be. Ambitious, ruthless, cold. He made decisions that saved money, but destroyed lives. He closed down entire departments, putting hundreds out of work. He cut benefits and squeezed every bit of productivity from the employees. William watched it all happen, and it made him sick.
He remembered what Sarah had said.
Kindness doesn't cost a penny. But greed? Greed cost everything. Quietly, William began to investigate. He hired a private detective to find out what had happened to that girl from the rainy night. The detective came back with a report. Sarah Mitchell had graduated with honors. She was now working at a community center in one of the poorest areas of Manchester, teaching life skills to struggling families. She ran programs teaching people how to fix things, how to budget, how to find work. She was paid almost nothing, but her impact was enormous. William read every page of that report. Then he read it again. This young woman could have done anything with her intelligence and work ethic. She could have pursued wealth. Instead, she chose to serve others.
His health was failing now.
The doctors told him he had maybe 2 years left. William Anderson had no children, no close family. His whole life had been his company. And now, looking at what his company had become under leaders like Thomas, he felt ashamed. So William made a decision. He called his lawyer. "I want to change my will," he said. "I want to do something that matters." The lawyer was shocked when he heard what William wanted. "Sir, are you certain? Your board of directors will fight this. Thomas Barrett especially will be furious." William smiled for the first time in months. "Let them be furious. For once in my life, I'm going to do the right thing." He spent his final year setting everything in motion. He established trusts. He verified all the legal documents. He made absolutely certain that no one could challenge what he was about to do. And then, One quiet morning in his sleep, William Anderson passed away. The news hit the business world like a bomb. Anderson's shipping company, worth billions, was now without its founder. The vultures began to circle. Thomas and the other executives prepared to divide the empire among themselves. They had no idea what was coming. Sarah Mitchell didn't read the business news. She was too busy. On the morning she received the letter from Anderson Shipping's lawyers, she almost threw it away, thinking it was junk mail. But something made her open it. She read it once, then twice, then a third time. It couldn't be real. It had to be some kind of mistake. The letter said she needed to come to the company headquarters immediately. It said she was named in William Anderson's will. It said she needed to bring identification and be prepared to sign documents. Sarah's hands shook as she held the letter. William Anderson. That name sounded familiar, but she couldn't place it. She looked him up online. The photos showed an elderly man, wealthy, powerful, and then she saw an older photograph from about 12 years ago. Her breath caught in her throat. It was him, the old man with the flat tire, the one she'd helped in the rain. 2 days later, Sarah walked into that glass office building in London. She felt out of place immediately. Everyone was wearing designer clothes. She was wearing her best outfit, which was just clean jeans and a nice sweater. The receptionist looked at her with barely hidden contempt. "I'm here for a meeting with the legal department," Sarah said quietly. The receptionist checked her computer. Her eyebrows went up. "Take the elevator to the top floor." The top floor was even more intimidating. Expensive art on the walls. Thick carpets. Everything screamed money and power. A severe-looking woman in a suit met her. "Miss Mitchell? Follow me, please." She was led to the boardroom. And that's where we came in. 5 men in expensive suits. Thomas Barrett at the head of the table. All of them looking at her like she was an insect that had crawled in from outside. The lawyer handed Sarah the documents. "These gentlemen believe they're here to discuss the division of the company," the lawyer said coolly. "But actually, they're here to meet the new owner." "What?" Thomas barked. "What are you talking about?" The lawyer nodded to Sarah. And that's when she said it. "Gentlemen, I'm the new owner of this company." The laughter that followed was cruel and loud. Thomas picked up the papers she'd slid across the table, ready to throw them back at her. But then he saw it. William Anderson's signature. Bold and unmistakable. The same signature that had been on Thomas's employment contract. The same signature that appeared on every major company document. Thomas's face went white. This can't be legal," he stammered. The lawyer spoke up. "It's entirely legal. Verified by 3 independent law firms. Mr. Anderson left 60% of the company's shares to Miss Mitchell, along with full voting control. He left the rest to various charities. You gentlemen are now employees, not owners." The room went dead silent. Sarah didn't gloat. She didn't smile smugly or enjoy their shock. Instead, she took a deep breath and sat down at that big table. Her voice was soft but steady when she spoke. "I know what you're all thinking," she said. "Who is this girl? What does she know about running a company? And you're right to wonder. I don't have a business degree. I've never worked in shipping. But Mr. Anderson left me a letter explaining his decision." She pulled out an envelope and read from it. William Anderson wrote, "12 years ago, I was stranded and helpless. A young girl stopped to help me, expecting nothing in return. In that moment, I saw what I'd lost in my pursuit of wealth. I saw true human kindness. I've watched this young woman build her life around serving others. She has the heart this company needs. Not more profit strategies. Not more efficiency reports. Heart. Let her lead with compassion, and the profits will follow." Sarah folded the letter carefully. "I'm not here to destroy what you've built. I'm here to change it. To make it better." Mr. Anderson was right about one thing. This company has lost its heart. Thomas stood up abruptly. "This is insane. You'll run us into the ground within a year." "Maybe," Sarah said calmly. "But I'm going to try something different. I'm going to treat our workers like human beings. I'm going to bring back the people you fired. I'm going to invest in our communities. And I believe, truly believe, that when you treat people with dignity, they give you their best. Over the next few months, everything changed at Anderson Shipping. Sarah brought in advisors who knew the technical side of the business, but she made the hard decisions herself. She reinstated 400 workers who'd been laid off. She improved working conditions on the ships. She started a program where the company trained young people from poor communities for maritime careers. Thomas resigned within a month, bitter and angry. But something interesting happened. 6 months later, he reached out to Sarah. He'd started a small consulting business, and he wanted advice. They met for coffee. He was different.
Humbler.
"I've been thinking about what you said," he admitted. "About heart. I've spent 20 years climbing, and I forgot why I started. I forgot that people matter." A year after Sarah took over, Anderson Shipping was more profitable than ever. Not because they cut costs, but because their employees were loyal and motivated. They had the lowest turnover rate in the industry. Their safety record was the best it had ever been. Other companies started copying their model. Sarah never forgot that rainy night 12 years ago. She had William Anderson's drawing of the sun framed in her office. Underneath it, she placed a plaque with her mother's words, "Kindness doesn't cost a penny." And that's the truth of it, isn't it? We live in a world that tells us to look out for ourselves, to climb over others, to take what we can get. But sometimes, just sometimes, a simple act of kindness can echo through the years. It can change a heart. It can change a company. It can change the world. Sarah Mitchell changed a tire in the rain because that's who she was. She didn't know it would lead to this. But William Anderson never forgot. He carried that moment with him for 12 years. And in the end, he used his power to make sure that kindness would be rewarded. So here's what I want you to remember. The next time you see someone who needs help, stop. The next time you have a chance to be kind, take it. You never know whose life you might touch. You never know how far that ripple might travel. Because in the end, we're not remembered for how much money we made or how high we climbed. We're remembered for how we treated people, for the moments of grace we offered, for the kindness we gave freely, expecting nothing in return. That's the legacy worth leaving. That's the story worth telling. And that's why Sarah Mitchell's simple act of kindness on a rainy night changed everything.